Hello everybody, this is Simon with Let's Play Castlevania, The Adventure of Chillstopher. This game was first released just half a year after the Game Boy's launch in October 1989, a little while after Castlevania 2 for the NES. Like the Game Boy entries of other series I've LP'd before, it is a completely standalone game, not a port. Considering its age and hardware limitations, it is also tiny, primitive and kind of bad. Nevertheless, it has a certain charm to it, owing mostly to its main character. Meet Chillstopher. He is the laziest boy I have ever played as. He will never run. He will never crack his whip at lightning speed. His jumps are barely hops, and he could whip this first candle, I guess, but he doesn't care much for that. The only thing that matters is that Dracula is back, 100 years before Simon Belmont in the first game has to deal with him, and as it will turn out, 100 years after Trevor Belmont has taken care of him in Castlevania 3. But Chillstopher Belmont is not like his possibly grandfather was. Chillstopher just wants to be left alone, but he is the only one that can kill Dracula. So he sets out at a brisk walk to do that if he really has to, and he only brought the whip and nothing else because that would require him preparing a backpack. So we do not have special weapons in this game, which means that hearts can actually be used for healing, fancy that, but we do have an upgrade for the whip in form of crystals that fall from candles, which first make it into a metal whip and then afterwards a fire whip. There is just one problem with that, and that is if you do get hit at any point, your whip will immediately downgrade one level, which means that if you are already doing good, then you will continue doing so, but if you get hit once, then the game will immediately become far harder, causing you to probably be hit more often. This one-up here seems rather generous, but don't be fooled, it is actually part of an insanely obscure secret, and it is why I did not actually hit the first candle, even though Chillstopher is lazy as that. If you do not hit the first candle, then the one-up spawns there. If you do hit the first candle, then it does not. To the best of my knowledge, this is the only such secret in the game, and yes, it is stupid. To the gameplay. Chillstopher is slow as molasses, very obviously. You have to plan every single move far in advance, like this is a fucking Dark Souls boss fight. Yeah, every game is Dark Souls nowadays, even this one deal with it. So you have to know the movement of your enemies very well to react to them before they can do anything. You have to alpha strike practically everything here, because otherwise you're going to have a bad time. Not in the first level, but later on it will obviously help having a fully upgraded whip for that, but good luck keeping that when you still don't know what the enemies do, and even more luck if you do what they do, because it is still a stupid hard game. I think the developers are well aware of the kind of limitations their engine provides, which is why whenever we have to climb up a rope very slowly at Chillstopher's pace, we will get an invincibility so we can phase through the eyeballs that fall down. Otherwise, I think it would be completely impossible to do so. Chillstopher is a man that is just too lazy to stop holding upwards when climbing ropes, and this is the only way he finds these secret rooms, by accident I think. You can play through the game without finding them. I certainly have done so because I didn't know that they existed. There is one in every level, and you always get the same set of power-ups, which is the only kind of power-ups the game has: a 1-up, a whip upgrade, a full heal, and a coin, which is more relevant than you would think, because you do get an extra life for the first 10,000 and then every 20,000 points afterwards. So yeah, you can finish the game without getting the secret rooms, but it certainly becomes much easier then. It also helps if you play it like I did on the 3DS Virtual Console, because then you can save state at least at every checkpoint without having to start over all the time. Here is another example of the game punishing you for ever getting hit. If you can keep the fire whip up until here, you can get this one up. If not, you won't get it, because you cannot reach the candle. Chillstopher has no way of jumping that high, and he just doesn't want to anyway. And this also means that if you do not get the whip upgrade mid-flight, then you lose out on it as well, making it doubly punishing if you just have a normal or even a metal whip. Even if you end up with the fire whip on the bottom of the fall, then tough luck, that's it for you. I must admit though, the soundtrack is really amazing. This is the first hard jumping obstacle in this game, and as Chillstopher is not the most agile of boys, it is already pretty hard to surmount, but there will be far, far more difficult jumps later on, basically becoming pixel perfect as the game progresses. I'm not joking here. Have I mentioned yet that this game is needlessly cruel at many points, because it really is. Chillstopher obviously is a very lazy boy and does not want to deal with this nonsense on top, so we're going to take the easy way out and bonk our heads. Fantastic. So obviously we have to do that, and again, an example of the developers being very well aware of the limitations and or advantages of their engine. The respawn rate of the enemies is absurd. It's like a Mega Man game in overdrive. So whenever you go back here to attempt this again, you are 1000% guaranteed that the bat will be back. You have to do these jumps at the latest possible moment, and also you really want to kill the bat immediately, because otherwise this here happens. You get hit again. Fortunately they cut you a little bit of slack with the bat chilling out, but now we're down to our leather whip again. And this is how it is going to go later on in the game, I can guarantee you that. And the only small reprieve we get here is a full heal and another whip upgrade just before the boss, but rest assured that the game will not be as generous later on. For these falling platforms here, you really want to inch Chillstopher forward as much as possible. He can't stand on his back ankle, it's fine. Even the animators were lazy with him. He has like a 3-frame walk cycle and that's it, and you can inch forward just 1 frame at a time. Which makes these jumps even possible in the first place. To add insult to injury, you have to activate the boss yourself, which is something Chillstopher hates of course, because it will require effort. This boss here is incredibly primitive, as you can see. His biggest threat is just moving forward into Chillstopher. They did account for Chillstopher not being able to jump over the boss at all, obviously, by providing the platforms, but as you could see, it works barely half the time. And now we're back to the leather whip again. The boss takes twice as much hits to kill, and you're stuck in a bad situation, but at some point you can just be Chillstopher role-playing and say, fuck it, I'm not going to dodge, that requires too much effort, and just hit the guy. The first level had its cruel moments, but it was kind of fun methodically whipping all those bad guys. The second level, well, thank you very much for your attention.